Hey guys, how you going? Hey guys, well, it's been a while. I'll explain in a minute, but first I have a few people to thank over the last 2 to 3 weeks that I have been MIA, missing in action. James, thank you. A Christian and a believer in the number 17, thank you very much, twice. Brenda, thank you very much. Catherine, thank you very much. Sandra, thank you very much as well. I also got a couple of letters in the mail. Thank you from Dolly at Heidelberg, California. I got your letter. I heard you about the nursing homes in California. They seem to be doing the same thing there. I am so sorry, and if I could help you in any way, I would. I'm kind of stuck being here in Australia. And also April from Houston. Thank you very much. I got the magnet, the little fridge magnet, which is lovely. It says you can't have too much happy. And a beautiful card. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that. Now, okay, what happened to me? Okay. For the last 2 to 3 weeks, I have been really, really sick. People who've been with me from the beginning know I have head injuries, I have neck injuries, back injuries, I have a stomach problem, and I have a broken foot. So seriously, it's a saying in Australia, if I was a horse, they'd shoot me because I'm lame. It's just a saying, and it's supposed to be a funny saying, you know. That's how Australians are. But it's true. It really is. I am very unwell. I've had a lot of injuries, and I have an illness as well, which took over because I ran out of medication about 6 weeks ago. Now, this medication kept working up until about 3 weeks ago. Even after I'd stopped taking it, I was doing all right for a further 3 or so weeks. And then it all came back. I want to shout out a special thank you to Julie also, who helped me. I'm on the mend now. Thank you very much, Julie. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of people won't know what I'm talking about. I can't say anything. I'm sorry. And yeah, so now I'm back on the mend again. It still may take a couple of weeks to fully kick in the medication. I have a specialist appointment in May. So I'm here, and I'm going to just come back if I have to, it'll be every second day just to start with until I feel a lot better because I'm still getting it makes you tired. When you're in a lot of pain, you get very tired from it. And it's kind of like being in labour. That's how bad the stomach pain is. It's very intense. It's quite scary because you're not in labour and you don't know what's going on. So yeah, I just had to take some time off, guys, and I'm so sorry. I was trying to keep up with people. I was just keeping myself entertained by watching other people's YouTubes and yeah, just keeping up with things going on. But anyway, so I'm back. Okay, now I'm thinking I might just do this. This is from, do you remember Snarkish Dano? Dano's House of Snark? Well, it's on Telegram. And he had some really, really good, one good post with a lot of good links in it. So let's talk about NXIVM today. Because apparently NXIVM's sex cult slaves speak out. It was new, it was edgy, and it was good. Really? Wow, okay. Just going to close that. I am on Brave, by the way. There is another one. There's another one called Dissenter. It is another, it's like Brave, but I think it's much more, possibly much better than Brave as well even. I'm not sure. I'll try that on the next video. I'll open Dissenter instead and see how we go there. But let's get back to the NXIVM, where they said it was good. The saga of the DOS sex cult founded by Keith Rainier, called NXIVM within the larger organisation, continues as former members of the secret sorority have come to the defence of their master, as reported by Frank Parlato, who broke the story of the sex cult. 8 women who were part of the DOS secret club, which required blackmail material from their pledges and branded women near their genitals, have come out with a written statement of support for the ideology that sent Rainier and billionaire heiress Claire Brofman to prison for trafficking women and girls. Alison Mack is awaiting sentencing and facing 40 years. The women posted their defence online. We were driven by curiosity, vision, and a desire to change social conventions in exchange for increased self-awareness and self-esteem. Really? Why are you being branded? Maybe the top, however many there were who started it, maybe they had increased self-awareness and self-esteem. But then what were they doing branding other women? Okay, anyway, it's just questions I'm going to pop up with these little questions in these articles. DOS, which stands for Dominus Obsequium Sororum, Master Allegiance Sisterhood, was an experiment in its infancy. It was new, it was edgy, and it was good. The 8 women in the first line of DOS, 7 of whom were co-founders, were mentored, yes, by a man, but not just by any man. A man with whom these women had a combined 100 years of trust, friendship, and collaboration. Okay, well, none of the women had 100 years with him, so they've all had little spurts equaling 100 years, okay? That does not... I've known someone for 13 years who turned out to be a real bad person. So this is a bit disingenuous by saying combine 100 years of trust, friendship and collaboration. It is incorrect to believe that we, a group of educated, intelligent and financially independent women, were driven by fear and faulty assumptions. And it's even further absurd to believe we were manipulated by an abusive, power-hungry patriarch. These women sound like they came from university. I'm sorry, but a lot of people there's people who've been through university who know exactly what I'm talking about. Universities tend to teach left-wing ideologies, so make of that what you will. Yet this is and anytime I hear someone mention the patriarch, no, it's not a patriarchy that we're living under. It is a bunch of corrupt people who have been put to the top by other corrupt people who are very, very rich. That's how we got where we are. It's just criminal. That's all it is. Yet this is the role society has cast for us, that of helpless, unwitting victims who needed to be saved from our own choices. Alternatively, we are seen by the general public as brainwashed followers who can't think for ourselves and who are complicit in heinous crimes. Neither of these views is accurate, but understanding the truth is neither simple nor easy. The binary narrative of victim-perpetrator is uninformed and reductive, and offensive to all the adult women who chose to participate in DOS, even the ones who have retroactively withdrawn their consent. Okay, when you start saying the binary narrative of look, seriously? I think anyone looking from the outside is seeing the same thing. It's only the people on the inside who don't think that there's anything nefarious going on. Oh dear. It is also disrespectful to victims of actual crimes like human trafficking, none of whom received the type of fame and opportunities so-called victims of DOS have enjoyed. While everyone is entitled to feel how they want about an experience past or present, we believe that such objective reality is still significant, if not essential, when discussing events with such damaging repercussions. Oh dear. There's so much wrong with that. Of course, these 8 women appear to have been some of the founding members of this cult. which victimised many women, according to Sarah Edmondson, who says she was told she was getting a tattoo that turned out to be a brand instead. She also claims she had no idea the brand was Max and Rainier's initials and that no one knew that Rainier was head of the group. Edmondson told her story to the New York Times and wrote a book on the subject. Sarah Edmondson, one of the participants, said she had been told she would get a small tattoo as part of the initiation, but she was not prepared for what came next. Each woman was told to undress and lie on a massage table, while 3 others restrained her legs and shoulders. According to one of them, their master, a top official named Lauren Salzman, instructed them to say, "Master, please brand me, it would be an honour." A female doctor proceeded to use a cauterizing device to sear a 2-inch square symbol below each woman's hip, a procedure that took 20 to 30 minutes. For hours, muffled screams and the smell of burning tissue filled the room. "I wept the whole time," Miss Edmondson recalled. "I disassociated out of my body." This is not the same story that defenders of DOS are telling. The invitation always included a detailed explanation of these 4 requirements. Number 1, making a vow of obedience to eliminate the possibility of being able to talk oneself out of their expressed goals and ideals. 2, wearing a symbolic piece of jewellery to signify the commitment, similar to wearing a wedding ring. 3, getting a brand to symbolise permanence, allegiance to one's sisters and personal ideology, and as a bonding ritual. Wow. I can bond with people over a cup of tea. We don't need to go around branding each other. My goodness. I mean, I'm even bonding with some of you here on YouTube and Rumble, and we don't need to brand each other to know, oh my goodness. Anyway, number 4, entering into mentorship relationship using master-slave terminology as a metaphor for overcoming the enslavement we feel to materialism and false identity, and the path of challenging those attachments in order to discover one's true self. And you can do that also without being branded. Perhaps what these women are missing is the experience of the other women who did not feel this secret society helped them, but harmed them through blackmail and torture. One of the things the masters were doing was counting the calories of the slaves, leading them into extreme thinness. At least one developed an eating disorder that has been disclosed. The issue of consent is at the centre of this scandal. Can a person consent to blackmail? It doesn't seem so based on the court's rulings. Perhaps the 8 women referenced above have no problem with the cult leader holding damaging evidence against them to be released if they break their sacred vows of secrecy. But other women felt terrorised and abused by it. The courts agreed. Rainier was sentenced to 120 years in prison for sex trafficking and other crimes connected to his company NXIVM. During court testimony, 15 women came forward to tell what happened to them under Rainier's control. Judge Nicholas G. Garafis of Federal District Court in Brooklyn determined the punishment after hearing hours of retching testimony from 15 victims, many of whom described how Mr. Rainier had left them traumatised and brainwashed from his pseudoscientific teachings. Let's not forget that Rainier also sexually abused a minor. The first to speak was a woman identified only as Camilla, who in a trembling voice recalled that Mr. Rainier started sexually abusing her when she was 15 and he was 45. She had previously declined to cooperate with prosecutors on the advice of a lawyer who was recommended to her by Mr. Rainier's counsel. And that's not a conflict of interest at all, is it? During their 12-year relationship, Camilla said Mr. Rainier expected her to be available for sex at all hours. He ordered her to weigh less than 100 pounds and directed her to get an abortion. She said she attempted suicide once. Perhaps the 8 women, who had no negative experiences in DOS, should talk to Camilla before claiming that Rainier's methods and teaching didn't harm anyone. What was edgy and good to some women was brutal torture to others. I want to move on, but he's damaged me in so many ways, Camilla says. When he wanted to replace Camilla, prosecutors have said he directed his inner circle to find another young virgin successor for him. The Vow. Shocking HBO doc reveals NXIVM sex cult links to extreme Trump derangement syndrome. Wow. Okay, let's just go here first, have a quick sidetrack. It's apparently a dizzying documentary fall down on the weird rabbit hole of the NXIVM cult that ended up with founder Keith Raniere convicted of sex trafficking, child porn, trafficking underage girls, racketeering, forced labour and more. Raniere, co-conspirator and Hollywood star Alison Mack pled guilty to racketeering and forced labour. Neither Raniere nor Mack has been sentenced for their crimes a whole year after conviction. The documentary is an intimate look inside the business model of NXIVM, filmed by the former cult member and documentarian Mark Vicente. I hope that's how it's said. Raniere wanted to document everything they were doing, including private conversations. Vicente did, and the footage he obtained is unbelievable. You can watch the trailer here. Whether it's still up or not, who knows? But the most revealing piece of information in Season 1 is the admission that a secret women's society within NXIVM, called DOS, that abused and tortured women was founded because of Trump derangement syndrome. NXIVM fancied itself a think tank-like organisation that would change the world through using techniques such as Scientology to overcome personal fears to become wildly successful. They sought to place NXIVM members in every institution from art to music to the financial industry and more. This was Raniere's plan to take over the world. DOS was created directly after the 2016 election of Donald Trump, and women involved in it thought that they were forming a secret society to agitate against the presidency. There's no telling what their money and influence wrought in the unrest that followed in the election. While the documentary does not go into detail, one witness in a recorded conversation tells about the founding of the secret sex group and why it happened. And it's all about resisting Trump. What did I say in the last article? They sound like a bunch of uni students, and uni students are taught leftist ideology. This was the origin of it. The group started out like, what if women could really do something? And it grew kind of out of that over a couple of years. It became more of a sorority recently, I think. And that's when I got involved in it. And I was super motivated by the, I'm not going to say that, Trump election, and thinking we have to effing do something in the world. And what if women could really do something? Oh dear God, what is their method of thinking? And excited about the underground concept of it. Like, we couldn't be thwarted because nobody would know. The women who were doing it were experiencing wonderful things about their commitment, and they wanted to memorialize it permanently. Somebody raised the concept of branding. This one admission sheds light on the new allegations by Stormy Daniels about Trump that were deployed to destroy his presidency. By the way, they were proven incorrect. In 2018, 2 years after the election and well into the development of DOS, Stormy Daniels came out with her allegations that the president had paid her to keep quiet about a sexual tryst. Investigative journalist Frank Parlato, who broke the NXIVM story, reported that Stormy Daniels was seen in at least one NXIVM event. Ben Zemkus, the man who said he attended NXIVM Mixer in Hamden, Connecticut in February 2007 with celebrities, NXIVM leaders and politicians, has named 8 new people he says were in attendance, people he failed or declined to name before. On March the 1st, Ben tweeted, "To clear things up, this is a list of people I met at a NXIVM recruit party over a decade ago. Alison Mack, Keith Raniere, Stormy Daniels, Eric Schneiderman, Nancy Salzman, Sarah Brofman, Claire Brofman, Catherine Oxenberg, India Oxenberg, Anthony Weiner, Shuma Aberdeen, Michael Avenatti, James Alefantis, David Brock, Frank Parlato and Roger Stone." The secret sorority was so unhinged they used a soldering iron to carve Keith Raniere's and Alison Mack's initials into members' bodies. For years, conservatives have been telling you that leftism is a mental disorder, and the election of Donald Trump has brought that reality out into the light. But the Resist Trump connection to NXIVM was completely covered up until this documentary let it slip. And we still don't know the extent of the actions that DOS members took to resist Trump. Parlato claims that Rainier hated Hillary Clinton, but Rainier's own words in the documentary about the last election seem to contradict that. Not only that, but the women around him were so obviously anti-Trump and said specifically that DOS was founded because of that anger at the 2016 election results. While Rainier's motivations may have simply been selfish or psychotic, the women around him were clearly resistors. The billionaire Brofman and Salzman families should be thoroughly investigated for their role in the cult and the funds they invested in political activities. Did they pay for violent protesters? The Women's March? What was their role in the resist effort that took over after the 2016 election? Has anyone looked into it? There is only one other mention of the president in Season 1, and it comes from Keith Rainier's own mouth. We need a group. We need hundreds of thousands, millions of men as voices of honour, so we don't have a presidential election like the last one. NXIVM was a group of people suffering from TDS, and what it led to was the abuse and torture of women and children in the name of changing the world and ridding us all of the terrible curse of Trump. The fact is glossed over in the documentary as if it isn't important, but it is. This group of people involved in NXIVM was full of mostly white, high-privileged leftists. Do-gooder types that are so far removed from the daily chores of survival that most of humanity is engaged in that they have nothing better to do than attend self-improvement seminars that convince them they were the saviours of humanity. Dear God. That's exactly what I was... They are. I bet you they come from university and they're all leftists. And because that's normally what university does to people, especially if they're very easily influenced. Oh, dear God, I've got one chasing me around somewhere trying to get my videos taken down, who's also been to university twice and is full of it. A severe leftist SJW. Oh, dear God. Anyway, let's get on with it. There are several laugh-out-loud moments as these people sit around in seminars weeping over their fears and obstacles in incomprehensible psychobabble. They really think they're overcoming some psychological barriers they have to success, when what's really happening is a disassociation with their natural human emotions that allowed Rainier to manipulate them out of their wealth and free will. For the smart people to have been completely taken in by a short, weird-looking wannabe volleyball-playing guru is pretty funny. These are the same people who believe they're better and smarter than everyone else, and they have all the answers, and yet they ended up getting branded and enslaved to one another in a twisted leftist utopia. Hysterical. So many of the NXIVM members were very wealthy Hollywood starlets or directors and producers puffed up with the idea they could save the world from the terrible deplorables who had interrupted their elite rule. They are the chosen ones. They have the truth, so nothing they could do to stop the Trump presidency would be unethical to them. What else did they do? It appears they clearly cooked up the Stormy Daniels incident. What else did they do? And is anyone looking into it? So far, none of them are in jail. Claire Brofman, who was surely a proponent of open borders and no human is illegal, sloganeering the left loves so much, was actually recruiting illegal immigrant women to be unpaid slaves to Keith Rainier. Brofman is convicted but still not sentenced. Although she claimed to award scholarships or present employment letters with the prevailing wage of a professional position, Brofman had no intention of providing her victims with a living wage. Instead, she secured a workforce of individuals desperate to earn a living and dependent on her and NXIVM and cult leader, Keith Rainier, for their continued legal status in the United States. The NXIVM story is actually the story of the anti-Trump elite left. It is the swamp. How deep does it go? It sure doesn't seem like anyone really wants to find out. The people convicted of these hideous crimes haven't even been sentenced, and their crimes have been known for years. Lawrence Salzman, another fabulously wealthy leftist, was arrested and convicted, but still not in jail, and instead under house arrest, for having 22 slaves and locking one of them in a room for 2 years, and threatening a Mexican citizen with deportation if she did not comply. Are these the people running the resist movement? Shouldn't someone find out? But the biggest question of all is, why haven't these criminals been sentenced and locked up yet? That's because the swamp is deep and they're in courts as well. They're judges, they're lawyers, they're everything. Oh, dear me, eh? So there you go. That's... I was right on the first day. I haven't read most. I've read some of this, but haven't read most of it. Yeah, so what I was saying about that, oh my goodness. These people think they know it all. And yet when they start to talk, you realise that they don't know much at all. They just have this derangement. I think university is starting to make people deranged, to be honest. But if you are aware of what they are doing, you probably, well, you'd end up getting some sort of mark against your name if you support the other side, put it that way. The truth about DOS no one has heard. How does a woman build strong character in a society that seeks to dismiss, protect or discredit her? What? Okay. I don't see that. I mean, I can build a strong character but I don't think they're seeking to dismiss, protect or discredit me. Anyway, how can women learn to be honourable, authentic and compassionate in a society that values gossip, entertainment and wealth above all else? Well, you can start by being poor and humble and living your life on your own, by yourself, learning who you are. And if you're a bad person, it's going to come out. If you're a good person, it's going to come out. I have no problem living with myself by myself. I actually like myself. But yeah, you're not allowed to say, oh, no, you're not allowed to say that. How can women build lasting, meaningful relationships with one another in a culture that promotes competitiveness and distrust amongst women? Well, I don't have this problem, but I know a lot of people do, but I do believe a lot of that comes from schools, TV, movies, music, all that kind of stuff. I think it's programming. These were the questions the women who created the formerly secret society known as DOS sought to answer. We were driven by curiosity, vision, and a desire to challenge social conventions in exchange for increased self-awareness and self-esteem. I've read this bit. And what it stood for, it was new, it was edgy, it was good. Reminds me of Kath and Kim. It was new, it was edgy, it was good. The 8 women in the first line of DOS, 7 of whom were co-founders, were mentored, yes, by a man. I've read that too. 100 years of trust, friendship and collaboration combined. How many women, sorry? 7. Well, you can divide 7 into 100. They probably had, 15 years each or something like that. So one may have had 20, another may have had 10, who knows. It is incorrect to believe that we, a group of educated, intelligent and financially independent women, were driven by fear and faulty assumptions. And it is even further absurd to believe we were manipulated. I've read that bit. But here, okay, you might go to university and you might come out educated, intelligent, but there's no guarantee you're going to get a job, especially if you do social justice or racial theory or any of those type of SJW courses. You're going to fail, I think. That's all going to go out the window soon. Okay, so I've already read a lot of this on the other article. So, and the binary narrative, like, come on. I hear this when you talk about LGBTQ, binary, this, that, and it's just, I am sorry, but you need to be strong within yourself. Stop looking outside yourself for satisfaction, for approval. You need to be happy with yourself. You need your own approval. So, and if you're a good person, you'll have no problem. Okay, let's get on with it. Yeah, they reckon they've become wiser, stronger, more self-reliant women. Ironically, the adversity we've experienced as a result of the false narrative has helped us to forge the character we set out to build. but not without great cost to our community and loved ones. We have weathered slander attacks and governmental threats, yet our commitment to honour the truth as we know it, so not the real truth, just the truth as you know it, is that right? And champion women's agency remains steadfast. Okay, well, if you keep pushing the feminism, if there's a war between the sexes, then there'll be no people left. Don't do it. I used to be a feminist, and I'm not anymore. I know my own worth, and I don't need approval from anyone else or any group. And look at what I've been through. Some of you who've been following me for a while know I've been through a fair bit. I'm strong, I'm here. I might be sick and get taken down every now and then, but I have a strong character. I have a strong urge for the truth. Not my truth, not your truth. I want the truth. Okay, we've resisted the temptation to blame and claim victimhood even when it's been blah, 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 blah. And they reckon they've been falsely accused of horrendous things. Really? Okay, and most people, including the media, don't question the narrative despite its inconsistencies. Well, I encourage the media to question everything because they don't seem to do a good job at all. I agree with that part. They don't do a good job. But I'd like some investigative journalists to go in and have a look at NXIVM. Oh dear. And since when... Okay, if you're so... If they're so good, why do they have to brand people? I don't have to brand my subscribers or my friends. Oh my goodness, honestly. The origin. The sorority was a secret sisterhood founded in 2007. I've read this too. There were his life's work, Keith Rainier's life's work, to building educational models and companies that inspired ethics, critical thinking, and joyful, purposeful living. Okay, the one thing they are seriously lacking in here is one thing that he was going for, which is critical thinking. There doesn't seem to be any. DOS help women build discipline and strong character through specialised practices in a safe, trusted environment. Really? Like being branded? Look, I've been through trauma that it built discipline in me and strong character. But that's life. Life does that. You do not need... Oh my goodness. It was founded on a solemn vow amongst the women who chose to participate, and it sought to empower women to become masters of their own destiny. Oh dear God. Mate, if I was healthy, I'd be a master of my own destiny, okay? I'd be out working. We had hoped to create a global network of trustworthy, self-reliant, successful women who lived by their word. You don't need to create a global network. You just do it on your own. And without branding. Our aim was to support one another through honest feedback, accountability, and building self-awareness around what it truly means to care for one another. We sought to bring more compassion for our collective well-being as a society and promote independent thought rather than blind acceptance of the status quo. The sorority was meant to be so exclusive, ever-evolving and secretive, so that it would not be distorted by inaccurate assumptions or suppressed by men. Do they not realise that the whole thing is owned by a man? Oh my God. This is insane, honestly. These people are brainwashed. Oh my goodness. Okay, the commitment to join the sorority was completely voluntary. Was it? Are you sure? You sure you didn't lie to them to get them to join and then they found out later it wasn't all it was cracked up to be? That's what I think happened. To the best of our collective knowledge, no one was ever coerced into participating, and if they were, it would have been completely counter to our mission. Yeah, because you're probably lying to people, telling them it's all this good stuff until they get in there. That's what most cults do. Inviting someone into DOS and becoming their master was a sacred commitment and responsibility. Okay, here's another question. Masters and slaves? The language speaks volumes. My goodness. I don't have a master and I'm not a slave to anyone. I do what I feel is best. And it may not be best for everybody else, but it's what's best for me at the time. And I have to because I'm sick, so there you go. Okay, how do you give a friend honest feedback and hold her accountable without risking the harmony of a relationship? It is difficult. You tell them. Are you an honest friend, or are you one of these friends who just, oh no, it's okay? You be honest. And if you can't handle it, look, me and a friend had a difference of opinion. It wasn't an argument or anything, just a difference of opinion. A few weeks ago, we got on with it, we got over it. It's fine. You've got to learn to let things slide. Not everyone's out to get you, and my God, that's what I think these people think that. Often when women hold others to a standard, they are perceived as mean or a bitch. Men, on the other hand, are typically considered authoritative and strong. This is one example of a double standard we were attempting to evolve, albeit awkwardly at times, but with the best of intentions. Well, they didn't do very well, did they? Because now they're looked at as absolute horror people. The invitation. If a woman in DOS knew someone, typically a close friend, whom she thought would desire and benefit from the type of mentorship offered in DOS, mentorship, what, like masters and slaves, she would first invite this friend to learn about the existence of the sorority. In order to learn about it, she would have to make a commitment of complete confidentiality, backed with some type of collateral. Some women declined this offer and never learnt about it. If a woman did want to learn about it, she would choose something of value to pledge as collateral. This could be material or abstract. The collateral was to leverage the weight of her promise to keep the sorority a secret, but also to emphasise and highlight a mutual trust. In many ways, it was a symbolic gesture because no one's collateral was ever released by anyone entrusted with it, despite the confidentiality breaches that later occurred. It was an exchange and commitment of confidence, nonetheless. Isn't that what you do in friendships? You just, you confide in each other and people know things and... Oh my goodness. Okay, well, if you have to join a group to get that, well, good luck. Some people wish to simply be comfortable in life, and some people are willing to do what it takes to achieve their dreams and do the exceptional. What, to be rich? Because that's what it seems like. People wish to be... I wish to be comfortable in life, and I'm not. And you know what it's doing? It's teaching me. I'm learning every day. I had to sort some things out just to be able to stay in my house. And I still haven't really sorted anything out. I'm still just hanging in by threads, but I'm hanging in here and it's teaching me to be strong. It's teaching me to cut back on certain things. Okay, we strive to invite the latter category of women with the understanding that most people need help somewhere along their journey, whether it's from a teacher, a coach, a mentor, or a friend, to push in ways we're not always apt or equipped to push ourselves. Well, then you just go to your friend and you lift them up. Considering everything that has happened in the aftermath, and because of the exposure of DOS, we now recognise the difference between what someone says they want and what they're actually willing to do to achieve. It may be drastically far apart. It depends on if you're after materialistic gain, that's what I think. At the time, we took each woman at her word. In hindsight, there should have been more checks and balances to ensure each person understood, wanted to, and had the capacity to uphold the commitment they were making. Well, you should tell them straight away they're going to be branded. That would help. They can decide straight away whether they want to or not. But if you're saying that it's going to be mentors and paradise and this and that and lifting women up, and okay, it's easy to sell to some people. But if you tell them they're going to be branded, I guarantee most will back off. The agreement. If a woman desired to learn about the sorority and backed her promise to keep it confidential with some form of collateral, she would be given a detailed description of DOS, including its mission, purpose, and the subsequent conditions to participate. Then anyone being invited would choose to participate or not. Oh, so you keep it secret, but then you tell them all this and then let them choose to participate? Yeah, I'd be questioning that. If a woman chose not to join after learning the details, the only thing she had agreed to up until that point was to not discuss the sorority with anyone. Every woman who declined to participate did so without incident or any negative impact on her friendships or ability to pursue or succeed in other endeavours. Are you sure about that too? The invitation always included a detailed explanation of these four requirements. 1. Making a vow of obedience to eliminate the possibility of being well, I read these as well. Master-slave. See? In my friendships, I don't have masters and slaves. We are equal or not at all. No one is over anyone else. We're all human beings. And we all have different things to bring to relationships and friendships, and we're all different. Before a woman joined, she was welcome. This reminds me of the Stepford Wives. This is what this reminds me of. They want to roll out women who are just exactly the same as each other nearly. Or maybe not exactly the same as each other, but, you know, like little robots, like people who don't think are not allowed to, no free speech because you're not allowed to talk about it, obviously. Okay, before a woman joined, she was welcome to ask as many questions for clarification as she needed and take as much time as she wished to make a decision. This was a serious decision and was treated as such by both parties. If a woman chose to join the sorority upon learning its mission and conditions, she provided more collateral to confirm her commitment and begin her journey. By May 2017, 2 years after its inception, over 100 women had committed to this path of personal growth, sisterhood, and self-actualization. Do you know you can do that without having to join a group or be branded? The undoing. Nearly 4 years ago, a few women decided to break their solemn vows, spread lies about the sorority to the media, and blame the sorority and Keith Rainier for alleged emotional damages. These women claimed they were victimised by a process that was designed to help them have more accountability, self-control and discretion in their lives. A process they knowingly and proactively embarked upon. Sadly, their actions precisely exposed the shortcomings the founding women sought to confront and evolve, both in themselves and in society. These so-called whistleblowers chose to destroy the sorority with the misguided help of powerful men, the mainstream media, a blogger with a personal vendetta against Rainier, Frank Pilato, and the United States government. None of these entities sought the truth of the situation and in fact threatened and disparaged anyone who attempted to reveal it. The entire media narrative was based on only a couple of women's experiences, representing less than 2% of women in DOS, and their accounts of their experiences in DOS changed dramatically from what they had been expressing and demonstrating for years. Well, to me it doesn't matter that it was only 2%, you've still hurt people. That's how I see that. The same woman who claimed she got the brand against her will was actively inviting other women into DOS for months, including after she got the brand. Factors such as family pressure, financial gain, and the threat of prosecution undoubtedly played a role in these 180-degree shifts. Well, if a family's worried about her, then what problem do these people have? Rather than taking responsibility for their choices and admitting they no longer wanted to pursue the path they once committed themselves to, the women who broke their sacred vows contributed to the disempowering societal view of women as children who needed to be saved. No, they don't. Grow up. They also supported and championed a shame campaign against the women who wished to keep their promise and remain honourable about their experience. There are, however, many women who remain true to the principles and intent behind the sorority, even though it no longer exists, and who had a deep and positive experience. These women still believe in its true purpose and are in full support of DOS. Most women who support the sorority have so far remained silent due to legal threats and extreme media persecution based on a false and defamatory narrative. Now, as the Dossier Project, 8 of us have chosen to share our experiences publicly. Others are in support and helping behind the scenes, but due to the level of harassment and hate, they are choosing to remain anonymous for now. After years of being misrepresented and attacked in the media, we're excited to finally share our story with the world and set the record straight. We are fully aware that it will be complex and a difficult path, but we are committed to the truth of our experience and fighting for a world where values of integrity, honour and ethics triumph over blame, prejudice, violence and hate. But that's coming from the left. It's coming from the same people who are... oh, dear me. I just have no words. Okay, I'm sorry, but to me these women are delusional and brainwashed. Okay, let's read the next one. It's a press release on February 22nd of 2021. Dominus Obsequium Sororum, DOS, which stands for Master Allegiance Sisterhood, was established in 2015 as... we know all that. Had 105 participants and was growing rapidly. That same month, one of its newest members, Sarah Edmondson, broke her vow of secrecy and revealed DOS existence to Frank Parlato, a self-avowed enemy of Rainier. Well, okay, was Sarah Edmondson just... was she being pressured to stay in the group and that's why she was recruiting and stayed a little after she was branded? Was she being threatened? Was she being threatened with the release of some of that stuff that you said you had on people? Parlato revealed the existence of DOS on his website, The Frank Report, and in a distorted and highly biased form and based solely on the skewed narrative of Edmondson and the few women who joined her in breaking their vows. Together they created and promoted a fictional narrative about DOS that wreaked havoc and spread disinformation within a greater NXIVM community. This effectively ended DOS. Spread disinformation? Really? Well, why are people being locked up for it then? Or sentenced anyway, sorry. Or whatever, charged. Everything ceased. Women who had been happily engaged in the practices of DOS began to fear for their safety and livelihoods due to the highly publicised false allegations. After the Northern District of New York determined there was no wrongdoing or crime to be investigated due to the consensual nature of the acts involved, the detractors took to the media to put pressure on law enforcement to take action. Well, who's New York run by? And that's why you would have had, they'd be determined to have no wrongdoing. The New York Times, taking up the false narratives of Edmondson, Parlato and others, published a grossly distorted view of DOS, clearly written to spark political interest and entice the Department of Justice. This prompted the FBI to begin an investigation bolstered and informed by false media narrative with public pressure to find or fabricate a crime. Really? Public pressure to find or fabricate a crime, which ultimately led to the wrongful conviction of 6 innocent people, Rainier and 5 women, only 2 of whom were ever members of DOS. People wouldn't be... oh, dear me. I'm not going to say anything. Until now, the women of DOS who remain true to its stated intent and principles have remained mostly silent. This is their first official statement on their sorority since it was suspended in 2017. Finally, women speak out against false allegations and the salacious narrative surrounding DOS. Well, how about your Stormy Daniels' salacious narrative? False salacious narrative. The Dossier Project will be releasing regular content educating the public on the true nature and purpose of DOS and the women who support it. Well, I'm going to leave that there because this just pretty much disgusts me. You can do all this without joining some silly group to do it. And in other news, Australia had banned all news from Facebook banned all Australian news and news coming from Australia and even from, I can't see overseas news. I'm having trouble seeing anything on Facebook. Now, I have heard that they have come to an agreement and have lifted that, but I'm still unable to share things like Rumble videos. There's still a lot of things I can't post on Facebook right now. And I haven't been on social media too much lately because it's rubbish, really. The only one I like now is Gab and Telegram, which I'm still not on enough, but they do seem to be the best. Parler has been... Okay, let me have a look and see if I can find what I was... this is an account of someone who was censored on Parler along with the content that was flagged censored. I'm offering this without comment. And there was another one from Dan Bongino saying there's a new CEO of... I have no relationship with the new CEO of Parler who wants convention that may let Soros rewrite Constitution. So Parler looks like it's gone. I won't be on there anymore. Yeah, so there's that. Also, things are happening in the background that we don't see. And I believe that Mr. Trump had to step away for them to be able to carry this out as well. He has to be out of the way. That's why we have who we have running things at the moment. And it will happen. It won't happen like all at once. A big... I think it's going to happen bit by bit. And I can see things happening because also in Australia... Scott Morrison joined our red-headed patriot Pauline Hanson. I think they're doing something to dismantle the family courts. Hang on, let me see if I can find something to back that up. Okay, and this poor woman has taken a beating over the years from the media, politicians, and she's our patriot. God love her. Okay, this is going to be biased. So they reckon that she's launched an extraordinary attack against women who she claims are lying about domestic violence in the family courts, which some women do. Some women do. And they'll do it to get their children. If they've broken up with their men or if they want to get out quickly. Also, if you're a victim of domestic violence, you get a lot more help. I'm not saying everyone, I'm just saying there are some. But anyway, the Prime Minister selected the One Nation leader as a deputy chair of a parliamentary inquiry into family law. Senator Hanson says some women are making up domestic violence allegations or falsely accusing ex-partners of molesting. They do. Well, they do. Honest to God, I know people. Well, I don't know them, but I know of them. And the next door neighbour at the last house I was at when I was sharing with my daughter and the family, who screamed at her children and swore at them and threatened to put their head through a wall, tried to accuse someone I was staying with of perving at her children. We never seen her children, none of us. My goodness. And she also accused the father of molesting his child, the ex-father of one of her children. So there are women out there who do this. There are people out there who are nothing but liars who will use that in the court system. Yep, well, I'm sorry, but I do agree, some do. And they mainly are left-leaning again. Because a lot of women with brains in their head will not accuse someone of doing something they didn't do. Don't throw domestic violence orders against your ex-partners just to further your case or get control of the children. Senator Hanson refused to provide any evidence to substantiate her claims other than citing her own son's experience with the court. I know many men who are going through this. And Prime Minister Scott Morrison, it's not about picking sides, but they're investigating family law courts, okay? They're looking at Law Reform Commission taking its own review on the family law courts and another parliamentary inquiry into the family law courts. They do need it. And you do know with family law, there is a lot of corruption there too. So, okay, that's news from here for today, guys. It's gone on quite a while. I'm trying to make up for the amount of time I've been away for. Thank you so much for all your patience, guys, and sticking with me. I am sorry that happened. There's nothing I can help. But But I should be all right for the next few weeks at least. As I said, I'll try, and if I can come on every day, I will. If not, I'll try and do it every second day. Okay, guys, I hope you have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening wherever you are, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, guys, bye.